For the month of April, let's continue our sexual assault awareness, abuse, and prevention talk for No History, No Self with Professor Brandon Reilly. Patnubay ng magulang ang kailangan sa programang ito.
Last week on No History, No Self, we remember the tragic yet heroic story of Lola Rosa, born Maria Rosa Henson, the victim of comfort womanhood during World War II and latter-day activist on behalf of her survivor sisters. Lola Rosa's life was a symbol of the trial and tribulations of the comfort women in the Philippines. Less often remembered, indeed almost completely forgotten, is that women were not the only victims of serial rape under the Japanese occupation. A smaller number of men were also forced into sexual slavery, like the comfort women. In Filipino history, these individuals, mostly bakla, biologically sexed men who existed as something between male and female yet were irreducible to both, came to be called comfort gays. Like their female counterparts in the Philippines, they were kidnapped and used as sexual slaves by the Japanese during the occupation. The conditions of both comfort women and comfort gays were merciless. But if we were to go by the words of the men, they were forced to endure further abuses. In addition to being kidnapped, taken away from their families and homes, and serially and brutally raped on a daily basis, as the comfort women had been, comfort gays were additionally berated and physically abused for being gay men in the first place. For the Japanese soldiers who targeted them for rape and torture, they weren't women enough. A strange irony. And this alone earned them further beatings and berating. We have a picture of the comfort gays because of the heroic efforts of Walter Dempster Jr., better known as Walterino Markova, the name he called himself. Marcova was a victim of Japanese sexual servitude during the war. Like the comfort women, he and a number of other gay men were captured and forced into sexual slavery. They were raped countless times over the course of the occupation in the building that is now the Rizal Memorial Sports Complex in Malate. After the end of the occupation, Marcova realized that of his comfort gay friends alongside whom he suffered, he alone survived. This is what gave him a sense of urgency to share his story. Marcova's story was portrayed in the award-winning 2000 film Marcova, Comfort Gay. Starring that icon of Filipino cinema, Dolphy, the film dramatizes Marcova's struggles as a gay man in the Philippines before, during, and after the course of the Japanese occupation. Marcova's story underscores how rape is not only an act of violence and dehumanization, but also how hatred of homosexuality can intensify both. After all, he was bullied and beat up in his youth in his native Philippines by his brother, simply because he was gay. And this was well before he was forced into sexual slavery. Today, gay men and women face myriad forms of discrimination against them in the global Philippines, including incidents of violence which often go unreported. Of course, we Kababayans aren't rounding up people and forcing them into sexual slavery like the Japanese did during the war. But the question becomes, if we, as a majority heterosexual community, view them as fundamentally different, as something less than us, can we say in our hearts that we're any different from those brutal invading Japanese armies from that time?
For past shows of Kababayan Today, please go online to www.la18.tv/Kababayan Today, or you can tweet me at GTONGI.